We just wrapped up the chapter on personality, which is by far my favorite chapter in general psychology. It is amazing how the influences of our lives, whether it's nature or nurture, helps us to become the people that we become. This chapter is chapter 12, social psychology. And I truly believe once you understand who you are, you will be able to understand who other people are and how the world functions better. So as we take a look into social psychology, what you basically are going to hear in this voiceover is a little bit of introduction to sociology. So how does the world affect us, and how do we affect the world? Social psychologists use scientific ways to study how we think about, influence, and relate to one another, and how other people think about, influence, and relate to us. There are a few really cool things in this chapter that I want to talk about. The first thing I want to talk about is the fundamental attribution error. And this is defined as the tendency when analyzing others' behaviors to overestimate the influence of personal traits and underestimate the effects of a situation. When we have a bad day, we want people to understand why we are having a bad day, that there is something going on in the world that is causing us to act abnormally. However, when we look at other people, we fail to remember that there are situations in those people's lives that would have an effect on why or how they are acting. We want people to understand us, but we don't take into consideration understanding other people's errors. So it's a trait that we all use, maybe defense mechanisms if you even want to go as far as that, but it's a horrible, horrible thing that we judge other people. And we're going to talk about judging other people a little bit later in the chapter also, but I just want you to have this in mind, the fundamental attribution error and how it can relate to us and how it relates to other people. As we go through the chapter, I want to next talk about conformity and obedience. We want people to conform. We want to be able to predict human behavior. We want people to be obedient, to obey. What we don't want is people to be deviant. Now, being deviant is a perception. What I perceive to be deviant and maybe what you perceive to be deviant might be a little bit different. What are the norms? What is normal in one culture may or may not be normal in another culture. But conformity definitely makes our lives easier. So, if people are conforming, they're being obedient, and that makes us comfortable. So if you look through this PowerPoint and you see the different tests and experimentation that people have done throughout the history of psychology, we understand more why people are willing to do things when they're told to do it, even if they know it's wrong. It's amazing what an authoritarian or authority figure can make us do. But again, this is why the military works, and that's a wonderful thing. The next the next part of this chapter that I want to talk about is back here when we talk about, gotta get back here. I want to talk about prejudice. Prejudice come from, or we would consider, a deviant behavior. Being prejudiced means we are prejudging somebody based on some sort of characteristic, defined as an unfair negative attitude towards some groups. I disagree with the book just a little bit on this. I don't think it's always an unfair negative attitude towards somebody. I think that there are positive prejudice out there. I think some people look at the virtues of a group and they prejudge a group based on those stereotypical virtues. What you need to know is that prejudice leads to discriminations, and those are unfair actions towards another group. How do we become prejudiced that leads to those discrimination? It's what we learn. We learn to prejudge. We learn to discriminate. The one thing that oftentimes people have a lot of discussion about is discrimination based on race, which is defined as racism. The one thing that I want you guys to know is that there is no such thing as reverse racism. If you are discriminating a person based on their race, it's racism. And we have things that we like and don't like about other people, and we judge them. I would like to say that we all celebrate diversity, that it's a really great thing. I'm not really sure that we celebrate diversity in the United States. We have a lot of celebration, but most of us are unwilling to really learn about people of different races and different cultures and truly understand why they do the things that they do. If we would take the time to understand people based on all sorts of factors, we probably would get a lot further in the world. That's about all I want to talk to you guys about in this chapter. There's not much else. There are some really cool thoughts and processes that are listed. Romantic love. Romantic love is one of our values that are really important to us. It's in the top 12 values of those people in the United States. Love conquers all, they say. Not necessarily one of my top values. I like that value of freedom, but it is very important. Oh, geez, I forgot about this. The bystander effect. I talk about the bystander effect all the time in my classes, whether it's a psych or a sociology class, but I also talk about the bystander effect when I teach CPR and first aid. We teach young women to yell rape, we don't teach young women to yell rape when being sexually assaulted, because most people don't know how to react to that or won't react to us yelling rape because of the bystander effect. What we do is we teach young ladies to yell fire because we all know how to react to a fire. We won't react because we're afraid sometimes, and there's other reasons, in emergency situation, unless we're the only person who can react. So the bystander effect, if there's anything you learn from the bystander effect, this little portion of lecture that I forgot about, is that in an emergency situation, do not depend on other people reacting, because nobody is reacting. Always, always, always. Call 911. If that's the most you do is call 911 in an emergency situation, get that done. All right, I will see you guys in the next chapter. Have a great day. Be good. Be safe. See you later.